Okay. I think I have everything up and running. I think the audio is going to work okay. So we'll see. I'm still fine-tuning this whole ordeal here, but there you go. Now we're off that screen, which is good. Flip that one over and we're good. So back to this building. Well, everybody that's like coming in and going and back and forth and what have you. I'm probably gonna be a little more quiet today than I usually am, but still the usual. We got the upper camera running up top on YouTube. So if you are watching on TikTok, if you want this camera, I don't have access on TikTok yet to do multiple cameras like that. I don't think so. If you want to watch that one, then you got to go with the other feed, and that'll get you a little bit closer down into what I'm doing here directly. But yeah, that's what we got going on right here. And let's see here. All sorts of different other warnings and things like that going on with that. So I'm still working on the same car I've been working on for the last couple days. I haven't managed to get really in the shop very much to really go to town on these things. So it is still that car for everybody who's interested in what I'm working on at the moment. And this is one of many that I have to get done over the next few days. I have some time off work, so I can really start to, get into these and really, start cranking stuff out. So, let's see here. Where was I at? I was at the 3x8s and the 3x14s on here on the page. And if you want to see where I'm at with the manuals and what have yous and all the different stuff, then your best bet is the YouTube channel, which obviously the links for that, if you go to the website, and then there's a social media section about 3/4 of the way down, and then you can find that there. So let's see here, 3x8. I don't know why my audio died on that and the other thing. Oh, that's right, I have it turned off to myself. So you guys could hear the music, but I couldn't hear the music, which is fine. And drop my audio down a little bit. That's always kind of the gray area, the thing that I never really seem to get completely worked out with doing these lives, is getting my audio quite right. It always seems to be slightly off one way or the other, but it's never a complete disaster, so that's all right. The 3x8s. Got here. Those are my 3s. 3x8s. So we're going to do 4 of these, and I need a proper screwdriver for that. There, like that one. And this is going to be a little bit of a ordeal. I don't know why Team Associated does the control arm build segments the way that they do them. Me personally, I really wish they would just have you attach the control arm later. But for some reason, I like to run the steps that way. But I'm going to take them off for now, just because if I have them on there, I'm just going to keep dropping them over and over again. Because they'll slide out and slide back in, slide out and slide back in. So those. Ooh, lots of people today. Whole lot of people. That's funny. TikTok's yelling at me for mentioning my website. TikTok's saying, "You're doing bad things. How dare you? How dare you mention your own website?" You serious? That's wild. Twitch doesn't care. YouTube doesn't care. But TikTok. TikTok's, how dare you? After all we've not done for you. Yeah. So that's in, and they wanted the long ones. But I didn't see in my bags here a long FH. Because it wants a 3x14, but I didn't see a 3x14 FH, or did I? A lot of bags open right now. That's my 14. A lot of bags open because I started my RC10T and then I realized pretty quickly that I, for some reason, did not have standard sockets and wrenches and things to build one of those, because it's a re-release, so everything's done in SAE and standard. It's not metric like these newer cars. And until recently, all I had was the metric stuff, because all I was building was the newer cars. What do we want? Let's see here. Two, 3, 7. 92537. That's the front one. I got lucky on that. And then they want one centers. These ones for the setting. See, now would be fine if they put the instructions for adding the control arms now, then I wouldn't have a problem with that. But for some reason, they just like to jump the gun with these things, in my opinion. That's all right, though. Heck of a time trying to orient this in my head. It's going that way. And 3x20s, which these are probably the 20s. Guess. 20s. I want that thin front bumper for this. And the nose. I'm gonna go that over top of that. And that's gonna go up into that. Whole thing. Definitely a different way of doing it from what I'm used to. It's alright though. One there. It's kind of wild how it's going all the way through to the top though. Mounting backing plate. These are not, however, whatever. It's kind of going. And here's going to be another spot where I'm going to be putting thread lock on this, even though it probably doesn't really say much about it. Doesn't say anything about it. Just had a general rule in my head that if it's a metal screw going into aluminum or another piece of metal or something like that on these cars, I'm putting thread lock on it. It's just the way I do things. I don't like to not have that extra bit of what have you, protection involved. I've lost too many screws over the years, and a lot of times you can fix that by not having the just by adding thread lock to it. It's the tiniest little detail. I haven't lost any screws in a while, except for the one that I forgot to put thread lock on, which was on one of the shorts. Servo screw backed out on my carpet car, and then I didn't completely lose it, but it came pretty damn close. So I think TikTok has some kind of AI that monitors what you say. So me talking about, I don't want to say it again because I feel like the thing's going to kick me off if I do. The other site thinks that I'm trying to redirect it to a sales page or some crap like that by saying too much different stuff, which is pretty crazy in my opinion. And you can't even say that. But TikTok's gonna be TikTok, so. this? The short one, I believe. 44 mil. And then it wants its black grease from the kit. It didn't even actually give me black grease from the kit. I believe it did. It should have. I'd be shocked if it didn't. Although, admittedly, people have been complaining lately because they, instead of including a tube, like what you see in the instructions, if I give you guys a closer view, see the tube there? Instead of that tube, they've been including these little tubs of grease, which some people, they're not very fond of this because instead of being able to just squeeze it out of a tube nice and neat, you then wind up having to have a brush and trying to brush this onto the things, and it gets kind of messy in that regard. So it doesn't bother me too much. Pretty used to it by now. But it is another thing. And actually, the 6588, I think I have 6588 that's already open. See, here's what happens. Because they give you these tubs with every build. I mean, I have tons of. I should consolidate some of this, really, is what I should do. Because I have so much of it now at this point. It's ridiculous. I don't even know which one is the one that I've been using most recently. Completely clear here. I want to say that one. So I'm just going to put these back in here and just keep using that one. I have tons of it at this point. From building so many cars and included in a kit. So I just take an old paintbrush that I have is the way that I put it in. It seems to be, it's basically an old paintbrush that it's been painted with too many times, so the bristles on the front are, they'll take the grease, but they're not very flexible, so that, you know, when I put stuff inside of these joints, it doesn't really it goes where I want it to go instead of flexing and getting all over the place. So and I have a habit of being, well, I feel like I am, maybe not, rather generous with the amount that I will shove in here, just because bring the YouTube people down closer if I can. Maybe not. Come on. Go where I want you to go. There we go. A little bit anyways. This turn the right direction. It's gonna require something else. There's a tiny little hole that I have to line up to fit this pin into. my mitts cannot grab properly, so do that. I think that pin goes through both. Yeah, it does. So it's kind of a little bit of a pain sometimes. You gotta try and line up all these different little holes. And I really need to demagnetize my nose pliers here. Whole bunch of different things I gotta do yet. Get through the other side if I can. Not quite there. There we go. Opinion.
Three, two, one.
One. Let's pause at 3. I gotta find height position 0 here. 3, here's 0. And it all has to do with the orientation, how this is mounted in the car once you put it in. It changes the angles on things. I had 510-4 flange bearing, which should be these. Should be. Yep. Goes on that side. This goes on this side. And that slips onto the end. It will. Go in there, and there's probably a set screw coming down the line here. And I am correct. It's going to be a rather large one, jeez. It's a bit of a monster. Now here they do mention the thread lock. It's just, it's kind of an interesting thing. I don't know if they choose to mark it where it absolutely has to be used. You know, no question, you must, or else, or what? So come around here, and this has what I don't like. No, it's all right. Never mind. Spoke too soon. I thought it had threads on the actual gear shaft as well, but it does not, so it's okay. It's in there. Yeah, that's good. I like that. And they're gonna have me do these one at a time, it seems, which is fine. Not necessarily a problem with that. But you can see why I don't even bother putting the rear arms on there beforehand, because they're just gonna keep falling off. Because if they're resting back here there's nothing to hold them on there. So when you're moving the car around and putting screws in and whatever else, they're just going to keep falling off. So to me, they shouldn't even have them there like that, but I am not in charge, so. Grab one of my differentials here. And then we're doing the shim game again, which is fine. But they want 10-15 4. Which, yep. Doing a 10-15 4 for that. Slide over the case or not? I feel like it should slide over that case, but it really doesn't seem to want to. It's wild. Does not want to do that. Oh, there we go. A lot more force than I like. Especially when you consider they want you to shim the inside of that bearing. Not a fan of that. I'm also not a fan of this song. I'm getting that out of there. A little bit too much. I don't. Tolerances are crazy on that. The one bearing isn't bad, but the other side really does not make me happy. Who's all in? Nobody. These bearings are not. They're not making me happy. It's just like the flange is just not. They should slip on nicely, and they're not doing that. And that's bothering me a lot. They should basically just slide on and slide off, but they're not, because the plastic is not quite at the right step. And the funny thing is that they want, you know, one shim on one side, one shim on the other side, but the shims are so small on these that, you know, gear mesh and whatever else, but it just I'm already even looking at that going, that's already going to be like wild tight to me. As far as the mesh goes for that gearbox. So I don't want to mesh it that way, that's for damn sure, because it's already like completely snugged up against it and really, really tight. Kit setting 0 on this other stuff, so I have to get those set up and see what it winds up with when it's actually sitting in there. So it's going to be like that. No. See, yeah, see, I'm not a fan of that. It's not. Jesus. It's just hairline. It's so hairline close to the edge of the housing that it just I'm not feeling particularly good about that. So just totally threw a whole crap ton of my screws. Have these where they belong in my slide. I shouldn't even have them out. So what do we got? Like when I'm looking at this, I'm going, it's, as far as the clearances go, I mean, it's really, really like crazy close for that. It's probably fine, but man, that's close. So See what happens when I do this. Put this in here, as far as what it's going to do with the mesh and everything. It's really hard to get the meshes on these down just right because you can't really hardly see. So you're almost trying to feel it to a degree. So, and the way this feels to me is it still feels a little tight on the one side. So I need to try and get this back off and I think add another shim to the one side. I'm still a little bit in shock at how tight these bearings are on this kit. They just don't want to come off this shaft without me prying on them, which I don't really like to pry on bearings if I can avoid it. But it's not terrible once I get it past the initial edge, but for some reason the plastic part of the differential housing is not. To me, it's just a little bit too big. So, and I don't want to go too wide on this, so I'm going to do this one at a time. Even though every single time I do this, I'm going to have to pry this bearing back off because of how tight it is. But I didn't like the mesh on the first shot, so do it again. Do it again. Kind of a stickler with these because of what I dealt with my the RC8T. Granted, that was more because the housing itself would warp and then things would get loose and eventually pop. If you go back through my TikTok clips, there's a clip in there of that thing coming apart. Yeah, that's a little bit better. There's just a little tiny bit of play there. Which is what I want. It's probably which I think is probably going to be my limit. Don't think I can do any more than one more on this side. Actually, I think I probably should take the one out of the opposite side because now I'm going to be at 3 on this side. Put that in there. And then I gotta take this other side back off because I've added too many, in my opinion, to that one side. So I gotta take one out from this side. That. Okay. Yeah, see. See, there's a problem. If you don't have any shims on the one side at all, it's gonna make contact with the outside edge of the housing. So it's just barely touching the outside edge of the housing, and so I have to maintain at least the one shim. At least in the case of this differential on the front, it has to have at least one shim there. Otherwise it touches. You know, would it burn the plastic away after running it for a little while? Yeah, probably, but rather not. My only hope right now is that I don't need too many shims on the other one, because if I do, I'm going to be going into my toolkit and hoping that I have another shim kit for these. If not, it's going to be call up Associated and say, hey, you know, your kit was like really expensive, but apparently I need more shims. I don't blame them though. It's plastics. The stuff isn't in and isn't, you know, lining up properly. It's just, that's why they have the shim kits. That's why you have to shim these things. Because if you don't, then the mesh gets off and it's not quite right, and then you tear stuff up, and then people complain. They're like, hey, why did my gears burn up after a few laps? It's like, well, did you shim your differentials? Well, no, I followed the kit. All right, well, the kit says you gotta shim the differential. Not just put the recommended ones in and call it a day. You have to put it in and then test it and then put more in if you have to. Because there's going to be slight variations with the gears. There just are. It's just the way that it is. So it's like I'm trying to feel. I know you guys can't really see because the camera's not inside my desk here, but I'm trying to feel a little bit of lash between the gears instead of them being completely bound as much as I can, because I don't want these suckers to melt themselves together. That would be a bad day. So that's probably going to be as good as I can get it, because I can't take, like, it's solid, it's in there, but I can't take the shim out of this side, because if I take the shim out of the far side, and you people on YouTube can see this, if I take the shim out of this side to shift this that way, then this part of the gear here is making contact with the housing. Let's see if I can put the macro on here real quick for you guys. So now that you can actually see it, you can see how many shims are in this side. There's a ton in this side right now. There's 3 here, and there's 1 on this side. But if you look, there's not any more room to work with, unfortunately. That's it. That's all I've got as far as room. Any more, if I take the shim out of this side, this is going to make contact with the housing. So that's as much as I can do. But this mesh still feels a little bit snug for my liking. It's probably fine, but we're going to have to find out the hard way, unfortunately, I think, because I can't. There's no way for me to shim that any other, any tighter or rather looser than that. I don't like how tight it is. But it is what it is. It's just the way it's going to have to be for this one because I'm out of options for adjusting that. At least until either the case expands from heating up and cooling off or something like that. So it'd be what it be at the moment. Chop that on there. That's good. And these are 3x12Bs, which is going to be this plethora up here. And then we'll do the rear afterwards. And then on some more interesting things like shock towers and what have you, I think is going to be the next one. Hello, people, anybody who is coming in and out. So, I've got, take that back off now, since I'm not really doing that. Yeah, I tried messing with this and I should have left it alone before. Because I had it more that way. And yeah, it was working a little bit better. Now it's kind of a little bit messed up in a way. Get a little bit warm in here. I got too many computers and that 3D printer behind me running, so. Well, not running, but it is, it's drying filament right now. So, it'll get a little bit toasty in this room sometimes. I have the door shut too, because the other half is sleeping. So, other side of the house, she's a very heavy sleeper. So, I'd have to do something really loud to wake her up. But, all the same. I'm a very light sleeper, so I just tiptoe around this place like a church mouse when I try to sleep, unfortunately. I will be up doing this live stream probably till maybe 2 o'clock in the morning. Out here, it's 10:30 right now. About 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I'll probably take a nap, and then I'll get back up and do more. I got 10 cars to build, including this one, but yeah, 10 cars to build. I got a long way to go. There's a 6x6 semi. There is a couple of RC10 gold pans. There's an RC10 clear That's an interesting one. A lot of the parts are a clear plastic instead of anything colored. See, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. And I also don't know how I feel about this, quite frankly, because that's just chilling in there. So what the crap? Good timing on TikTok's part here. Dude. I don't think I've ever had... I feel like I'm missing something on this, because this is just hanging out, where this pin, if it works itself loose, it's just going to come out. That I don't like. What crap is going on here? Yeah. Okay. I knew it. I'm a goofball. I fucked that up. Oop, pardon my French. Parlez-vous français? No. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. I knew there was a part missing though. My brain went, something's not where it's supposed to be. I don't know how I missed that, but it is what it is. And it's alright, because I can just slide it on and then stick this stupid screw that just ran from me back on. Merry bugger. I do not know how my brain totally spaced on this cap, but it did. It's kind of an important piece. If you don't have this cap on here, then that little pin can come right back out. That would have sucked a lot. A lot. You're buggered now. Of course you are. You're a little pain in my ass. Yeah, it's gonna be a pain in my rear. It's just gonna keep sliding off like that. Where'd you go? There you go. Man, I'll tell you what. Artlist does not want to keep running for some reason now. Like the whole thing's coming apart at the seams. Let's start over here. All right. Do it a little bit differently, because that angle's not behaving for me. That. I do like the fact that they used a drilled hole instead of just a notch on the shaft for this. So yeah, that's a lot better. So that's the front. And now, surprise, surprise, the rear. After I attach another brace to the top here, apparently. It's going to be... another 3x6 LPs, and then the rest of them are the buttons. Which is interesting. Interesting choice. I actually don't know how long the battery on this mic will last, and I also do not know how long TikTok will allow in one singular stream. So let's find out, shall we? Let's find out. All right. So I'm doing that, and then I needed a the 3x8s, 3x8 buttons. That should be, yep. These two. And just as I suspected, I don't use a ton. It's just enough to add a little bit of a extra bit of peace of mind for me, really. Really why I do that. Somewhere there's probably some professional, you know, team racer screaming at me, "Why are you putting dreadlock there? Why are you putting dreadlock there?" Because that's what I do, man. Because I'm not that good. I can drive. I'm okay. But, you know, I'm no Spencer Rivkin sitting over here. So, I still hit stuff. Do hit stuff. Alright. That's the front. Now I gotta do it all over again. For the rear. So the 3x8s and the one 3x14. 3x8s and the 3x14. And then we're gonna go, where's my other side of my housing? Oh, it was in the other bag. They separated the housings into separate bags. Probably because people were getting the front and rear housings confused. So, I do like that. I do like that they did that. I mean, also because, if you notice, you have two different housings here. So... Unless, or they just gave me an extra one. Nope, one's higher than the other one. One's definitely higher than the other one. This one's a +2, which raises the back. And I have, do not have the full race knowledge to know exactly what dropping or raising the rear gearbox would do to my handling. So for me, I'm just gonna go with the standard. Play it safe, you know. Let's see if this pulls us down into this, because good. Didn't quite want to seat all the way down for me. So good, I'm glad that it did. And then I gotta find a way to get Artlist to actually keep playing. Come on. Okay. Let's try this. See if this gives me a different run. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Alright, so that one's the +2, so that's going to go away. And leave my rack here, because now I gotta grab this one, and the kit setting is still just straight ones. These little adjustment pills is another thing that I have to work on learning for sure. I know there's guys they'll take these settings for these pills to adjust different angles and things, and I'm just not that good. So I'll just put that out of sight and out of mind for the moment. I'm going to be making a 3D. It's going to be a 3D printed holder for these pills, because I have so many of them for all the different kits. And they're just everywhere. They're in a lot of my toolboxes and bins and things like that. So like that. These two again can go out of the way. And then I need the rear bumper, which is kind of hilarious to me in all actuality, because does this look like a bumper to you? That's literally it. That's a bumper. I don't know what it's gonna protect you from, but okay. Whatever you say. That's fine. So same as last time, more or less. It's one of these combination deals where you're going through the bottom and all the way up to the top, and then so on and so forth. And realistically, it's not being held on by that, being held on by this top piece, the whole thing. So, and I mean, even going through the actual, you know, bottom side of the differential, it's the differential plastic itself is not holding any of this. It's strictly the plate that's at the very top. So what I like to do here, Obviously after putting the arms on, now that I've test fitted this. Get it back out. There we go. Gotta put these arms on. Huh. Okay. Because that is just completely binding up on the housing. Which is not I'm not a fan of that. That's not right. 'Cause I don't even think this is going to go on properly. The way that that's the way that's touching that housing. Eesh. This is not nice. Where's that shim? Yes. Because that's got to go that way so that that opening has room for the. And that really forces that out hard. That's. And it's still rubbing on it. It's like they made a cutout in the arm itself at the edge here. It might be okay. I might take this back apart later and shave that further around the radius just because I don't want it to be constantly pushing on the differential case, but it should be okay. Should be. Get this in. Sorry everybody if you're trying to watch this, I know a lot of this is happening way down below the desk, but you can't really see it. But the way that my my setup here is, these are actually shelves, not an actual desk. So I can't stick my legs under the desk, so a lot of times I just have to have the cars in my lap like this. It is what it is, as they say. We'll see. We'll see what happens with it. I'm just gonna have to. I'm gonna trust the process on this part because it seems like it'll be all right. I'm just being me, where I kind of look at it and I go, yeah, sure, but you know. That's that part. Put this back away over here. So I'm gonna go back to the messy stuff. Messy-ish. Really not that bad. Oh, hello, everybody. A 1, 0. Here. I love TikToks with prompts. That's funny. It goes, encourage people to send gifts. Why? Just send me gifts. What are you talking about? For what? Let's see. Put that up there. My way. That other set screw. The gearbox shimming. Ordeal again. I gotta get this straight. Maybe I can. So, I know for a fact I'm going to need one on the one side because it's just going to be a thing. Yeah, now see this one, the bearings went on a lot smoother. So it definitely is a little bit of a QC issue there. And I'm going to have to hope. Yeah, see that one doesn't want to go. The last one slid on so nicely, and now this one's going to fight with me. So. Bugger. I really don't like to take pliers or tools or what have you and start pushing hard on these things. But just kind of have to do this. Rotate and press, rotate and press, and rotate and press. It's definitely going to be on there good, and there won't be any slack in the differential, I'll tell you that much. So that's on there good. And then I need the other, what setting I say asked me for. This setting is +1 for the rear. Interesting. +1 up. And this one had the 0 up. And let's hope. Otherwise I'm gonna have to find my shim kit. Should be all right. Back this out a little bit though, because I want it to stay fit. The other one. Yep. I feel like that'll be okay. Should be all right. By 12s. 2. So I have an odd number of that. That's a little bit concerning. Not happy with the mesh on that. On the rear. That does not feel happy to me at all. It's just, that's a mess. So either something didn't snap in properly or it's touching. It's just no good. Nope. For me to cheat a little bit. I've established the threads, so now I don't have too much concern about using a power tool on a slow speed, but you know, nonetheless, I won't run these fast. If you run them fast, you run the risk of heating the screws up, and then you melt things, and melted things don't like to hold screws when you put them back in. So, if you use power tools on these, definitely slow gear and take it easy. I never full trigger the thing. If you have one of those little hobby power drills, that's one thing, but I obviously don't. This is a little Milwaukee. So let's see what happened with this now. Because it was definitely making contact somewhere. And it was not behaving the way I wanted it to. Because here it feels a little bit, but it's not anything that's really concerning to me. It's okay. But then when I put it in the upper housing, it was, when I put the upper part of the housing down on top of it, it definitely was not, wasn't happy with what I was doing, it didn't seem. So there might be a burr from the injection molding or something like that stuck down in here, or something didn't quite line up the way it was supposed to line up. Yeah, because there it doesn't feel bad. So something must not have... Yeah, my mesh on the front one is definitely a lot better than on the back. So I'll have to see if I have another kit. It doesn't feel bad until I push the actual the drive gear down. When it's up a little bit, it's a lot smoother, which tells me that I need to try to push this way. The problem is that I don't really have any clearance to work with to the left inside the housing. There's really only the tiniest little bit of space to work with in that direction. So I'm actually kind of wondering if it's in there flush, that's in there flush, and that's down flush. Tell me it's that little burr on the piece. That's not letting it sit down the way that it's supposed to. Would not surprise me. Yep. Yep. Little tiny piece of plastic on the edge of the piece that holds the alignment for the drive shaft. Yeah. Okay. We'll deal with that. Let's try something stupid. Just to make myself feel better about this. This check was even big enough to accept that. Yeah, it'll probably work. Lots of grip on it. Yeah, so if you ever wanted to test out, if you ever wanted to test out a differential without, you know, having everything else hooked up, see if it's going to be noisy or not, pick up a drill to it. You know, a little bit unorthodox, but why not? Same concept, same thing. So now I know that's going to be all right. It still felt a little bit stiff to me, but it's, believe it or not, it's fine. And I can probably, if I really wanted to be crazy about it, I could probably take that whole assembly back apart and then take a look at it and see if it's got weird wear marks or anything like that on it. So, but it looked like it was fine. It felt like it was fine when it's running at speed. So, I got this little brace thing. I'm supposed to get a pivot ball in it. So I'll put that in there. If I can find my pliers. That. And then the other 12s. And a 12. You know, I found it's supposed to be chill synthwave. Supposed to be. I don't know. And the strange thing is, alright, so that'll use up all three remainders of those. So that's good. That makes me feel good. This is doing... yeah. That's fine. This started, and then I'll slide the piece in, and the other two, seems like it's just chilling next to it, but they slide, so that's fine. White. that is it for bag 4. Bag 6, bag 5. What? How about no? That is weird. We're not looking for any of that. Oh, thank you. Yeah, man. Got that, got this, these. Put them there. It's one of those. These are all the same. Ooh, wing mounts. And of course the carbon fiber. You can't ever discount the carbon fiber. Everybody loves carbon fiber. There's some thick carbon fiber. I definitely do these things. So, B84 shock tower front. This sucker here. It doesn't look like anything's directional, so that's good. This massive shock tower cover, which is pretty cool. I technically don't need it because I mean, I guess it's not a bad thing to have if you're running dirt, but realistically, do I need this piece? No. And they want middle for position. We'll go middle, and we'll go middle, and then strictly speaking, this. See, this is where I kind of go, okay, yeah, sure, but it kind of becomes a little bit of a pain having that there. Like it's not awful, but if you're not running a surface where you're worried about, I know a lot of carpet tracks, they want you to have covers on your shock towers and everything, but if you're gonna just be playing around with it, this cover is really just an option. It's not something you have to do. Not in my opinion anyways. And let's see here. Don't know if this is a big enough tool. Indeed it is. Good. Thank you, Hootie. Although admittedly I did find that this tool, there's a lot of different companies that use this tool, that have this tool marketed. You can find it all over the place. It's a good tool to have, but I think a lot of places do mark it up considerably for whatever reason. They just insist. There's a lot of companies that do that. They'll take something that realistically shouldn't cost more than $10, $15 maybe, and because their brand is on it, they will absolutely destroy you on markup. I think that's kind of sucky. I get it. Everybody's trying to run a business. I do. But at the same time, if you price people out of this hobby because you're jacking your prices up just to do whatever, then over time, you're just hurting you're hurting the hobby by doing that. Instead of, just kind of, make enough to where you're making your profits and keeping, if you have shareholders, some of these companies do. If you have shareholders, whatever, keep your shareholders happy and whatever. But at the end of the day, if you make this hobby too expensive for everybody, then people will find other hobbies that they can afford. And I mean, I don't have to. If anybody's watching this who is involved in this stuff competitively, it's no secret. A car like what I'm building right now, if you spec it out with electronics and everything to make it competitive where you can race and compete and all that stuff, you're talking, well over $1,000 just to get on the track. It's a lot of money. But, you know, that's what they want to charge. You know, we obviously have our requirements as dealers. You know, we're only allowed to drop the price so far. You obviously still have to make a business out of it, but you know, if you've been paying attention lately, that whole fiasco that just went down with the Associated and Horizon just started. Nobody really knows yet why, or like the information hasn't leaked yet, I guess, as to what specifically Horizon was doing by dropping the price of that the associated products that much. But I don't know what they were thinking. I don't. But I'm not Horizon, so I can't speak for them. But it was just an absolute mess. So I got 3x12s again, and one 2.5x8, which would be this one here. It looks like they just did that to help secure that upper cover. Seems a little bit of an overkill situation to me. I mean, do what you want. So. It's passing hour 2. Waiting for TikTok to yell at me again. Are you awake? Are you alive? Are you still actually doing stuff? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. And I will be for the next at least about 2 hours. By the looks of it. Now, are they putting this? Yeah, it is going in front. Okay. I don't want to get surprised. It tends to happen with me in these. I'll start mounting something and then go, oh, it's supposed to be on the back side. That sucks. That's the front one. Now we're going to build the back one. So, but, you know, similar setup. Not really much different from the front. Just slightly different shape. Little protector piece. And they want to position that position there. The ever infinitely adjustable towers and things. One day I will figure out. Lokai. Wonder, they've got a bunch of suggested stuff in here. Maybe I should go do the suggested stuff since this keeps dropping out. That one done. And now see, this one is going to go the other way. So that's where you got to watch. So whereas the front shock tower was mounted towards the front, the rear is actually coming in front. So from this direction here. So slightly different. Slightly different angle. But still 4 of the 3x12s for that, and then another 2 3x12s to put the wing mount on. There's 2 wing mount options for this one, a standard and a -2. I'm obviously going to do the standard one. So a pile of extra pieces will continue to grow, as it always does. They give you a bunch of different options for the different pieces, but like where do you want to have different components line up and such. So if you wanted to run a lower rear wing, you could. Stuff like that. You. Little bit of an alignment issue here. These screws don't quite want to cooperate with me, initially anyways. There we go. Cheater. My favorite breed, German Shepherds. Maybe someday I'll have one. Now this can go out of the way for a while. Now, next, we're going to be playing with the suspension. more of that crazy nonsense with the four-wheel drive buggy. So it's going to be 4 more drive shafts, and it's going to be all the other stuff that goes along with that. Turnbuckles, ball ends, you name it. It's all coming next. I always seem to have issues with these molds, the way that they're done. Just kind of little edges and things like that that will get caught on stuff sometimes and bind stuff up and not make it turn as smoothly. So. These two. Here. Try to keep my stuff as organized as I possibly can, because when you get a lot of these little tiny parts all over the place, you start to get a little bit messed up sometimes. Especially if it's a kit that you're not 100% familiar with, either because it's new, like this one. This was a new kit that Associated released, that they revised a couple little things. So it's been a while since I built their 4-wheel drive 10 scale buggy. I have the other one down here. So this is a different one, to give you an idea. And so far, a lot of what I have here, some of it's similar, but there's other aspects that are definitely different and have been changed around. Shock towers and different things like that, the way the bumpers are assembled, the width of the bumpers. I mean, it's just a lot of it's been changed around. You wouldn't think that there's much for them to change on something like this, but apparently you can definitely make a lot of improvements and change things over the years, and it gets to be a little crazy. So they take a little while to put together. But so, like, from a molding standpoint, these extra little pieces that are in these. So this whole big bar that's stuck in here is not even a part of anything that I'm going to be using. It's just a part of their molding process. I'm actually kind of surprised it's even still in there, but you know, and it's going to be a little bit of a bear for me to get out. Not because it's necessarily hard to get it out of there, it's just I don't want to damage anything in the process. So, you know, that's basically just a little block that's in there for whatever reason. So now this one, they kind of a whole bunch of steps in the same graphic here. So, and then there's different caster inserts and things like that that you kind of have to go through for the manual here. Again, if anybody's trying to see this stuff more closely, if you're on TikTok, obviously from over there you can't really see much. The YouTube channel, I have this camera up here that kind of gives you more of a top-down, better idea of what's going on and what I have in front of me. You can definitely see a lot better on that one. So basically, more carbon fiber pieces, and then a whole bunch of other really tiny pieces are coming out of the work here. So, and now I really don't know what Artlist is playing. This is wild. We went from chill synthwave to this very dark Halloween kind of stuff. It seems like you could see in like an 80s horror movie or something. It's just weird. Like, I asked for synthwave. Just give me synthwave, will you? Alright, so I've got little tiny, and then slightly less tiny. 2 ends in that thread, and then 1 or 2 of these different sizes up here. Alright. Bear with me for 1 minute here. I'll be right back. All right. Plug myself in. Okay. Do that. That's actually doing quite well. And I come back to the thingy. Yeah, it works. I mean, of course it works. Why wouldn't it work? Convoluted cluster of everything. And you turn that off. Alright. Where was I? Need a short break. Need my coffee. Yeah, I know, it's midnight and I'm drinking coffee. Coffee! Why do you want some coffee? Anybody want audio to actually continue running? Okay, good. Let's see. My other phone. Wow, our list just completely went off the rails now with that one. I have no idea. Yeah, just... I need to build a playlist and have it set. That's something I definitely do need to have to work on. So... I'm gonna actually drop this down a little bit. You don't need to see my mug. You want to see what I'm actually doing here. I think more than that. So rotate it a little bit too. That might actually help. Bring these guys back in. Like that. So 3x8s, which is going to be these, and then we're basically just running it. Pretty standard the way that they're doing these ones. Gonna be these buggers for sure. Yep. So, and like I said, this is the whole multiple packs thing. When you start getting into the multiple packs where you're gonna have bearings pop up from, you know, you'll have a bearing bag, and then that bag goes into a whole bunch of different sections for these. So that's that. And then it wants me to put this in there, but my whole thing is I don't want to get something in a position to where I can't get to it. It's basically a spacer is what it is. So it should be okay though. More okay if I start grabbing the proper bearing. All right, so that's built. And then I gotta go into, let's see here. So we've got the right side and the left side here. That's left, this is right. That's going to start falling out and being stupid. And then obviously you have the actual blocks, which are also going to be oriented appropriately. So as far as the left side goes, which is the one that I'm going to be guiding off of here, we've got this arrangement, and then that side's going to go towards the inside of it, like that. So, and it's doing a 1 millimeter washer on the ball studs. So we'll do that, we'll do this. And obviously we're going to bust out the thread lock again. This is tradition. At this point. I don't use a ton. It's just enough to make sure that I'm not going to have an issue. It's really the only reason why I do it. Just that little bit of extra reassurance that nothing's going to move, because you really can't crank down on these things. It's aluminum, so if you crank down on them, it's just going to be kind of silly, really. So realistically, at least in my mind, the only way to really make sure that they don't back out is you put that on there and make sure that it has something to help make it hold. Because you don't really want to crank down on these aluminum pieces when you're going aluminum. You're just going to wind up breaking something. So, and then it's the same for top and bottom 3x12s, which is basically all you have left for this whole set. And you know, again, same sort of thing. It's going to go through, and it's going into metal. So yeah, I'm going to do what I can to make sure that it's not going to back out on me. one. And Artlist really does not want to play nice today at all. Don't know why. Those are done. Those can be put off to the side. Now I get to play with the axles again. So we're going to go back to the grease in the brush and all that. And that's going to go into the CVAs then. That's cool. That. And they're using the cone to hold that thing together inside of the housing. So that's good. And these are identical, so I can just kind of do them both the same way. Not really any problems. don't know why I try to do that. I try to grab them with my fingers and it never works, but I still try. I don't have those girly fingernails. That's one. And then here's the second one for the front. It's like the trick is I have to maintain tension forward so that this holds it. Because if I let it loose, then it's going to have wiggle in it and play, and you don't want this to be wiggling back and forth, because if this pops forwards and backwards, so this way and this way, then you get slack and everything, and it just starts to clang and smack around, and it's not good. So, all right, now it's showing me mounting these onto the front, and then we've got a hinge pin and a set screw basically to hold it in. But I still need to put in a caster block insert, position 0 for both sides. So on these, put the super duper lens on for the YouTube people. You got the different numbers for the different settings, and then each setting will slightly shift this. It doesn't look like much, you really can't tell too much, but it does move the position inside relative to things. So it's just not extremely obvious. So, and this is another thing that I want to make a printed holder for, is these. So I can kind of keep better track of them and where they're at and what's going on with them and that sort of thing. So when you have so many cars, and some of these use the same ones, some of them don't use the same ones, you kind of want to keep them separate if they are different. You know, different revisions, different years. They change just slightly. Not massive, but enough that a lot of times they're just not compatible with each other, unfortunately. So. I'll bring the car back over. Pull this back off. Now, it's obviously the back. This is the front. We can get into a position where people can actually see anything. It's kind of hard to see now because there's all sorts of other pieces that are kind of starting to get in the way. But that's what it is. So. back like this. And they're all going to go in from the back side. A little bit of a clumsy thing. This is a lot easier to do when there's suspension that's holding stuff. But we haven't gotten to that step yet, so. Being a bear. Okay. Normally I do not struggle with these as much. But the fit is always extremely tight on these to get them in. So it has to be like absolutely dead on, otherwise it's not going to go in there. You don't want to try to force it too much, because if you do and you wind up messing up the insert, granted you can change the insert then if you really have to, but I'd rather just do it right the first time. So that one's in there. You don't have to worry about this. You can always get that back in there later. It's not a huge deal. And then the freaky thing that always kind of weirded me out is this tiny, tiny little screw holds that entire shaft from falling out. So I'm gonna flip it around and do the other side. And it will slowly but surely start to actually look like something that's put together that can actually have wheels attached to it and race and all that. Starting to get into those that stage of things. Starting to. Now, because the rears don't have steering, so we'll take these and we'll put this back away again. The rear obviously doesn't have steering, so the rear is a lot easier to put together than the fronts. So for the rears, now bag 7. There's 12 bags in total, so onward and upward. Just like the other side, you got multiple options for how you want to have stuff set up. Your individual setup will depend on what you're doing, what surface you're running on, all those different factors. there for that one. Shafts. Couple of these, couple of those. That was an error from the other thing that they had made. The other thing that I'm not too keen on right now is that I got two small other screws here. Which do not show up on any of the diagrams, but they are sitting there. That bothers me. It bothers me whenever they do that. Because I have 3 more of these little set screws in here, and there were 2 that were left from the other one. But there's no there's accommodations for them in the rear, but I don't see them anywhere for the front. At all. So we've got a whole bunch of hubs here. Some are labeled HRC. Some are not. So I'm going to run like that, I think. Yeah, some of the things with these are familiar because there are certain aspects that associate. Just it carries over from car to car to car, so you do become familiar with certain aspects. But so the rears for this one, they want the +1s. Now the thing about these ones are kind of half directional, so you can multi-position these whether they're upside down or right side up. You kind of have to pay attention to your orientation on these ones. So your +1 is up, and it doesn't matter, which way it's facing. It's just a matter of this flipping back and forth one way or the other towards the top. And then of course we're running ball stud washers again, and then the thread lock to go into these because you're going straight on metal on metal. So they don't show it in the manual here, to put thread lock on it, but again, I'm always put thread lock on your stuff. You will regret it if you do not. I promise you. So these are going, which way are we going with these? Yeah. I'm going to go for a short break here. In a few minutes. See the missiles off to work. And because technically well into the next day, and I like to keep the dates on these somewhat consistent if I can. So. 3x12. Get all of these goofballs. Now the thing about these is, again, you really should have thread lock on these. It's a little more difficult to get it to really grab well because obviously this is an open-ended hole. If you put the thread lock on the bolts, it's just going to wipe off into the plastic. So what I'll try to do is I'll try to do something like that and start the first one, and then I'll put the next one through and start that one. Granted, you're not coating the screw, which, memory serves me right, people have done little tests and things to show which way of doing thread lock is more effective, and it was always seemingly when you put it like a stripe down the threads of the screw versus putting it in the hole or what have you. But that on the ground. So that one. I'm going to take a little break. Charge up a couple of these little devices and what have you. and then I will be back. I don't know, maybe 15-20 minutes, something like that. Not too long. So, see you later, guys.